What I want to touch on, Deputy Speaker, around road safety more generally is the condition of our roads. And this is an area that I believe requires the most attention when we are talking about getting the road toll down. Now, the Minister recently stood in this place and said our roads are safer and smoother. That is not accurate. Our regional roads are not safer and smoother. They've never been worse. Indeed, I think in her contribution, the member for Eltham stood in this place just before and reflected on a text from her mother, who drove from Traralgon, I think, to Eildon, I think it might have been, and said the roads were great. I'm not sure what the Nats are complaining about. Well, the fact that she never drove through a seat that's held by the Nats is one point I would make, but that is not accurate. I would like to get her mother's thoughts on the Princess Highway between Stratford and Bairnsdale, on the Monaro Highway, the Bonang Highway, Bingwarden Road, Painesville Road. I could go on and on and on, roads that are falling to bits at the moment. Now, when I got the response back from the Minister when I queried the issue around our roads being safer and smoother, the ministerial response I got back stated that it was extreme rainfall and wet weather was the major cause of this. Now, I doubt the Minister, having been in that position, you get a lot of correspondence put before you when you've got to sign off on a huge amount of letters. I'm not sure he would have read that letter that he signed in its full entirety, because the wet weather is not the major reason. There are two reasons for that. The first is that the problems that we have had a wet summer, granted, but the problems that we're having with our roads in rural areas were well advanced before we had a wet summer. The roads were falling to bits well before the extended high levels of rainfall that we've had. The other issue is that we have a situation where we are not building roads to be able to cope with rainfall. Our roads have got to be built generally to a higher standard. Now, the wet summer that we've endured, that the Minister stated was the reason that our roads are falling to bits, was well and truly forecast. Every warning that came out from the Bureau indicated that we had a wet summer ahead. So if you're going to have a wet summer ahead, what would possibly be the first thing that you would do if you were a roads authority? You would address the table drains to let the water get away and escape. You would think that we would have a bit of a blitz on that, but no, it wasn't. Our table drains on our rural roads are being chock full of debris. Some of them on the Princess Highway and our major arterials I don't think have been cleared for over 2 years, and water just cannot get away. So when you've got your table drains clogged with debris and then the roads flood a lot more than they would normally otherwise flood, and the road surfaces fall to bits, you can't say it's the heavy rainfall. It's lack of maintenance. It's the roads not being built to that standard and quality, and it's the infrastructure, the table drains, not being maintained to the level that they should be. So I really want to make that point, that we must be building these regional roads to a higher standard. So many times in the last 6 months, roadworks have been done only to fall apart in not even 3 months later, sometimes in a matter of less than a month. We have to have road crews back, fixing the road shoulders and fixing the works that they have done, because they're not done to a high enough standard. Now, just this weekend, when we got rain, there was a pothole between Bairnsdale and Stratford. Fair dinkum, we wouldn't want to walk into it, you'd disappear. But 6 cars suffered significant damage that we know of. And that can happen from time to time. You can get a big pothole that comes along quickly, but it's just happening too frequently and on far too many different roads in our region. The 6 people that have been into my office yesterday and this morning, I just checked at lunchtime with my electorate officers, I can assure you that they're not living in fantasy land, as the member for Eltham indicated earlier. She spoke about her mother having a lived experience. The 6 people that have been into my office yesterday and this morning with vehicles that have had to be towed away by the RACV, they've been having a lived experience of our road situation as well. You've only got to drive the Princes Highway East to see the hundreds of locations where water can't get off the road. Even when we get small amounts of rainfall, the water pools in the low points, and cars that are travelling along that road are aquaplaning because the camber of the road doesn't allow it to run off. And then when it does run off, the table drains are that full of debris that the water flows back over the road surface. And here we are in the chamber talking about road safety. And these basic measures in relation to maintaining our roads and maintaining our infrastructure are not being addressed. Over recent months, I've stood in this chamber and I've mentioned, as I said, the Princes Highway, Bengwarden Road. I've mentioned the Great Alpine Road, Paynesville Road, the Monaro Highway, the Bonang Highway, and the parlous state that they are in. And we're not talking one or two potholes here, Deputy Speaker. We are talking large areas of broken surface. The Monaro Highway, that connects Victoria to the ACT is an absolute disgrace on the Victorian side. It has massive potholes and broken surface, metres in diameter, in about 20 different locations. But our roads are meant to be smoother and safer. When asked, Regional Roads Victoria say they're pressed for funds, and I have contract workers that I know who come to me. We live in the country, we talk to these people, we have a beer with them on a Friday night in the pub, who tell me that they're building roads to a standard that they basically know aren't going to stand the test of time. So until we get serious about these matters, we're just not getting serious about road safety. And if we can build our roads to higher standards with a greater level of investment, the Minister can then truly come into this chamber and say that this government is investing appropriately to make our roads smoother and safer. But to say that at the current time is just not the case, and that is the biggest issue we face in relation to road safety in regional Victoria.